Hello my friends, welcome to my 100th YouTube video. They've not all been guitar, there's been a couple of skydiving ones thrown in there, but I thought for this 100th guitar lesson I might do something kind of special and what I think is really important. Now, what I'm going to tell you could be, if you're not doing it already, the most important guitar lesson that you ever get. If you've already done this thing that I'm talking about, it probably won't be the greatest guitar lesson you've ever had, but if you're unaware of this or you haven't thought of it this way, this could be pretty massively important, so stay tuned. So this thing that I want to talk about is transcribing, and all of my private students and all the guys I teach at the Guitar Institute get kind of, I think, a bit sick of me talking about it all the time, but I really think it is the most important element to learning guitar or learning music in general, particularly like modern genres, rock, blues and jazz and stuff, because it's really, this tradition of music is about listening and it's about hearing, and you don't learn music by reading and writing and stuff, you learn music by listening. And particularly all you young kiddies out there that learn everything that you get on the guitar from either videos like mine or from internet tabs in general, it's really not the right way to learn to play music or learn to play guitar. I'll be honest with you. That's, I think that there's a lot of benefit from it, and it means that people can play, songs quickly and all that sort of stuff, and that's cool. But let's think back for a sec about, say, Eric Clapton, Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page, Joe Satriani, any great guitar player that you can think of did not learn by getting tabs off the internet. They learned by learning songs themselves off records. So when Eric Clapton was learning blues licks and learning to rip off Albert King and those guys, he certainly wasn't using tab books or going to MX tabs and checking out what notes he played. He learned by listening. And when you listen closely enough to try and work it out by yourself, you absorb all of the other bits, like exactly how the note was played, whether it was played loud or soft, whether it was played, what dynamic it was, whether there was like that little subtle bend on the note or not, Those are things that you can't get off a page. You really can't. I mean, people try and write it down, but it's really not the right way to learn it. So, this idea of transcribing is the essence to learning music properly, learning guitar properly. Now, I've got a little thing that I always explain to my private students, because all my private students kind of have to transcribe a bit or I kind of get the hump at them. So I'd really like it if you could try and incorporate a little bit of this transcribing into your playing as well. Now, most people when they start transcribing have a really hard time of it. It is quite difficult. It's quite a steep learning curve, and when you first have a go you might get the impression like, oh, I'm never going to be any good at this. This is really normal. The first few times you'd be lucky if you get 10–20% right. Yeah? So be aware of that and stick at it. I promise you will get there. I've got a few tips that I can give you. I give a whole heap of this chat on my website that you would definitely be worth going and checking out if you're not sure. Depending on how I go for time, I might get through some of these things as talk about some of the tips. But the essence of the idea is this. You hear a sound on a record and you find that, you listen to it and then you try and find that sound on the instrument. And the first time it takes ages and you kind of play this note over and over again or the chord over and over again and you don't hear it. And then you muck around, oh, there it is, and you found this note, and that's kind of exciting, And then you look for the next note or the next chord and you try and figure out what that is. And gradually over, I'm talking not like weeks, we're talking years here, over a number of years, you get faster and faster at hearing this sound and being able to find that sound on the instrument straight away. And that's what all of the great guitar players are really good at doing. You can just, not that I put myself up in the great guitar players box, but, I can hear a song and pretty much most of the time, if it's a standard pop tune, I can play along with the tune before the song's finished. Because I've got really good at hearing a sound out there and trying to know how to make that sound come out of my guitar. And for me, that's really what it's about. The truly great guitar players like your Jeff Becks and Eric Johnson, or the really outstanding guys, they can play anything that they hear straight away. That's kind of the goal. I can kind of do it maybe 70%, 80% of the time, but not all the time. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time to practice these days. But anyway, so the more you listen to songs and transcribe, the more you manage to let that sound come out of your guitar, the one that you've just heard on record straight away. You get to do that fairly instantly. Now, once you kind of get really good at doing that, you can take away that external source, i.e. the record, and that's when you can find a sound that's in you and let the sound that's in you come out through the guitar. Now, I don't want to suppose that music is something that comes from your heart or your head or whatever. I don't know where it comes from. I know that when you really express music properly, it comes from inness. I don't know whether it's head or heart or toes or stomach or whatever, but there's definitely music in us that can be expressed. Now, if you can hear a sound, find that sound in your head, and then know how to make that sound come out of the instrument, you can then remove that external sound and just find the sound that's in you and let that sound come out your instrument. And that's what I think true expression is about. That's when people say, like, he's got great feel, he's playing from the heart, he really means what he's playing. I think that's what people mean when they hear or say that. The whole point of this video is to try and get you into transcribing. Please, 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 please go and check out the transcribing hints on my website. The tricks are to be able to slow it down. There's one in particular really great transcribing program that slows stuff down if you can't do it. You've got to start simple. You have to start simple. So don't try and work out a Joe Satriani song when you first go transcribing. You won't be able to do it and you'll assume that you should, and then you never try it again. It's a very essential part of your guitar development is this learning stuff by ear. Please, 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 if you really want to get good at guitar, start working stuff out yourself by ear. In return for the information I've given you about transcribing, I'd like you to spend just a second thinking about something that's going on in the world at the moment that's really terrible. It's the genocide that's happening in Darfur at the moment in Africa. It's had fairly high publicised campaigns in various parts of the country, and this month I was reading one of my favourite magazines this year called The New Internationalist, and there's an interview with a woman who was in Darfur, and I just wanted to read it to you just to maybe shed some light on some stuff that maybe you haven't come across before. This really kind of made me feel ashamed to be human, but I don't know how you'll feel. It's an interview with a woman who's in one of the camps on the outside of Darfur. They're talking about the Janjaweed militia that came to their village. Men on horseback came in and stabbed those who were alive. They took the men and killed them. My husband disappeared. I don't know what happened to him. They took all the boys from their parents and murdered them. My baby boy was thrown on a fire in front of me. My daughter was older. They thought she was a boy, so they slaughtered her too. They snapped her neck like a chicken. Some of the children they threw down a well. Afterwards they raped the women. They cut off their breasts to make them suffer. They used those of us who were left as donkeys. They made us carry things, even the men themselves, on our backs. I have many marks where they beat me. Now, this is one woman's story about what's happening in Darfur. It is unacceptable that we can be sending troops to Iran or Iraq to fight for oil and probably invade Iran as well. And we can let this genocide happen where 400,000 people have died. I think it's 1,000 people a day are dying at the moment. That's about as many people as watch most of my YouTube videos. We can't let this happen. Please do some research on the internet. If you see a campaign that you can get involved with, please let's make our governments wake up to this humanitarian crisis and sort it out, because it's just, we should be ashamed. Take care. Bye bye.